I want to make sure that YouTube
But,
works.
you know,
Oh, okay. There's no pledge.
Is the microphone on?
Yeah. There we go. We will now call to order the regular meeting of the Middleville DDA for Tuesday, June 2nd. May we have roll call, please?
Yes, you might want to move your mic down now. Okay. Ann Alberg.
Here.
Tim Dencham.
Here.
Casey Haney.
Here.
Eric Schaefer.
Here.
Kevin Smith. James Tim.
Here.
Did I forget something?
No worries.
No,
Okay.
nothing about you, it's all about us.
It's all about. Okay, well, could we have a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting?
I make a motion to approve the meeting agenda as presented.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
No discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion's going through. Okay, may we have an approval to approve the consent agenda for the DDA meetings of May the 5th, 2026, and the bills of May 26th, 2026 of $11,966.35.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I can second.
Roll call.
Casey Haney.
Aye.
Eric Schaefer.
Yes.
James Tim.
Aye.
Tim Dencham.
Yes.
Kevin Smith. Ann Alberg.
Aye. Okay, public comments? No public?
I have a couple today that I'm not on the thing, so.
Okay.
I'm working on the website. I had a website meeting this morning. We are trying to have the first launch go live July 1st. A couple things that we noted to add to the website that we would like from you guys. If you could email me a picture of you guys, so I can have the DDA board with a picture on the website, that would be great, along with the doesn't have to be anything simple, but a little bit about yourself, what kind of makes you interested in the DDA, something small and a picture. I hate to say this, but I would need this sooner than later. So if I could have it by Thursday, Friday at the latest, so I can get that ready for the launch by July 1st, that would be awesome. The next thing that I would need from you guys, if you have it, they're wanting pictures. We're really missing the picture aspect of the website. So you guys have been around a long time. Do you have pictures of different events that you've been a part of your business, the front of your business, buildings, different things like that, pictures within the DDA district, DDA board, anything that you guys might have, please share it with me in an email so that I can just give it to them to kind of fill the website with more pictures and things like that. That would be awesome. Thank you.
Reserve time, there doesn't appear to be any.
Question about the website, was I supposed to be at that meeting with them, or, okay, good. Yeah, maybe. I am happy with the way it's looking. It should really be the front page for the town. If we work at that, so if there's anything when you're looking at that, our idea is that this is where people will go if they want to find out what's happening. So think about that when you're ever wondering, like, when is the farmer's market, whatever, this is what we want to be, that front face. So if there's something that you have thought about in the past, or you thought maybe this should be on the website, this would be the time to bring that up. We can always change it later, but this is the best time to do it because everybody's working on, putting the best foot forward and putting any good ideas out there. So it gets a lot harder after it's launched to do that.
Okay, old business, there doesn't appear to be any. New business, the mission statement, the mission statement, short and long-term goals.
So the recommendation before you is to discuss and provide direction to staff regarding the DDA mission statement and short and long-term goals. So the background is part of the village's, Minneville's DDA ongoing Main Street transition efforts and preparation for application to become a select level Main Street community. Staff reviewed the organization's existing mission statement and short and long-term goals to determine whether they continue to reflect current community priorities, redevelopment opportunities, and organizational objectives. To assist in this effort, a roundtable discussion was facilitated with board members, stakeholders, and community members to gather feedback regarding downtown conditions, economic development priorities, infrastructure improvements, housing, events, and future vision for downtown Minneville. Several recurring themes emerged from the feedback process, including strengthening communication and public engagement, increasing downtown destinations and experience, supporting existing and new businesses, improving connections between downtown, the riverfront, and the M37 corridor, expanding housing opportunities and mixed-use development, utilizing data-driven decision-making and performance tracking, enhancing collaboration between community organizations and local institutions. The feedback generally supported the DDA's current direction, while also identifying opportunities to refine and modernize the organization's mission and goals to better align with Main Street implementation efforts, community expectations, and long-term redevelopment priorities. So the current framework for the mission statement is the Minneville Downtown Development Authority, in collaboration with local, public, and private entities, strives to take meaningful action to ensure maximum economic growth and development, historic preservation and revitalization, and to serve the community through a wide range of resources and grant opportunities. Where the proposed is the Minneville Downtown Development Authority, in collaboration with public and private partners, strives to support a vibrant, connected, walkable, and economically resilient downtown through strategic investment, business support, historic preservation, revitalization, and community-focused development initiatives. And as you recall, the short and long-term goals that we currently have are ones that, staff had presented to the board previously for feedback, and none had been given. But with utilizing some of the feedback from our recent business engagement, that's where the short and long-term proposed framework came from. Don't think anyone has any thoughts about this, about like our current mission statement, short and long-term goals versus like what's proposed. No bad answers.
Well, I think the proposed gives a more updated version of, some of the stuff that's currently in there and, hitting this, what needs to be hit from what you got from this other, the 1980s thing.
What is that?
I don't know, from back in the 80s, maybe back in the 50s, 1912, I'm not sure. But, getting it to be more, more current and not have it be like regimented and dated. I like it.
My thoughts are that the mission statement is way too long. It's a mouthful, and I think it needs to be like a bullet point to say what we are doing. A lot of that stuff there sounds okay-ish, but it doesn't really focus on what we need to do. If you ask me, after doing this for a year, what the DDA does, and we need to be the leader for smart growth in our area. And so what does that look like? And we've got, as I understand it now better than I did when I first came here, is we've got the township, we've got the village, we've got them working together in the DDA, I know there's other aspects that we work together, but one of the biggest problems that volunteer organizations have is they don't have money. They don't have a way to go out there and do stuff. They don't have a structure to do stuff. We've got that all built here with the DDA. There's really no reason why we're not taking the lead on what the downtown inside the DDA area looks like, because we're best equipped to do that. Whereas Eric over there has to look at it from the perspective of the township, and the mayor has to look out, the president has to look out from this perspective of the village. We can look out there as everybody. So that's where I think that needs to show that we're going to be the leader in that area. That's where I see the DDA, a thriving DDA. I think that's what we need to do, is not just be kind of like a background. We need to be up front. We need to be taking the lead on that. That's my thoughts on that. I would be rewriting that, but I would say get it shorter, snappier, and make it look like we're the ones that are gonna go and advance forward instead of just kind of sitting in the background.
But we still have to partner with these
We do.
systems to
But we,
collaborate with public
So
and
my thought would
private
be is if the
partners.
board, doesn't like this language, any feedback you get, I would make changes, and then this would be listed as unfinished business until the board came to a consensus with revisions to the mission statement and goals, which after that time, this would then be part of each agenda, and public notice, so we can maintain consistency with what the DDA's mission and goals are. Does
and I
that-
agree 100% that we need to be the ones that work with everybody. And as a leader, we should be the ones that do that. We should be the ones that are going out there, going out of our way to work with all the different organizations, the myriad of the municipalities, the businesses, the nonprofits, and be the ones that kind of go forward to guide everybody together. I think we're the ones best equipped to do that.
Is there any other feedback about the mission statement or goals? How does everyone feel? I mean, I know, so I can certainly work on changes from the mission statement, but short-term goals, the re-energize downtown Middleville by supporting existing and new businesses through targeted DDA initiatives. Efforts should focus on filling vacant storefronts, strengthening service offerings, improving community engagement, and restoring downtown activity and community pride while positioning Middleville for future growth and investment. How does that read? Is that what you envision the DDA's mission or short-term goal?
I'll agree with that. I think we've been doing a great job with like our last event, the bike rodeo and everything. I think that's putting more community pride out there.
So if we did that, we could almost turn that into a list of bullet points, and then
Okay.
those become like our objectives. And then
Yes.
we could go and turn around and say, how are we doing with improving community engagement?
To better support the Middleville DDA district, these, have been identified as priorities.
Yeah.
Listing bullet points.
Because if you list it like that, and then that's kind of like our scorecard.
I was gonna say.
Then we can kind of turn back and say, a year from now, how are we doing? Just like Kevin brought up, how many times are we engaging with local businesses? That became, to me, a scorecard to see how we're doing, right?
Yeah.
And then if we take a look at that, then instead of just words on a paragraph that we covered 1 June, this is like, we've decided this is how we're gonna go forward. And so then this becomes like how we do this. Like, how do we rank ourselves? How do we do with these things here? Because we decided this is our short-term goals.
Isn't that something we should be, going over anyway?
So any of this stuff should be updated on a regular basis.
No, I don't mean updated, but, shouldn't that be our forefront, to go back and check and see how we're doing this? I don't recall.
Yeah.
When
No,
we've done this in
absolutely.
the past.
So like having the short-term goals is to assess whether or not we're achieving those, whether it's by bullet
How do we
points
measure
or paragraph.
How
So,
have we been measuring
The
that?
way that we measure that is through the implementation of our development plan, and now, as we did since the last meeting, getting board members' feedback on the Main Street scorecards.
Okay,
Because that helps
and
us
they've been
see
doing
where
well
the-
about getting those back to us?
I have them back. I do have all the board members back, their
I'm
scorecards.
glad I got that turned in.
I did not
I
get
got
them
mine
early enough
before
to
you
compile
got
an analysis, but I have them back. So I will have an analysis of those for the next board meeting.
Because, it's up to us too to get that stuff in a timely manner.
So does everyone kind of feel like these items make sense, but potentially listing them as bullet points rather than sentences? So it just spells out like the key phrases that are identified, like when you see things like community pride, strengthening service offerings.
Yeah, some of them are
Each
harder
investment.
to, rate and gauge than others, like, how do we, community pride is our vote, how do we go and check that, like that.
Yeah.
Surveys and things like that's probably it. The other ones, we could probably take a look at, like, how many community engagement, how many times did we have community events? And we can look at last year and how well were they received, like how many people do we have attending and so on, I just think it gives us a better way of seeing, are we doing what we say we're gonna do, and are we
So,
doing?
If it's okay with the board, I'll draft a version with bullet points, bring that back and see how your feelings are about that.
I think we all liked it, we just, just changed the
Just
format,
revise
we're
it,
good.
yeah,
Yeah.
keeping the similar wording, but,
Yeah.
make, yes, no, I agree. I think it's good to know how we can potentially make it a easier read too on the website.
And I guess, maybe to Tim's point, when we do have this as bullet points to measure how we're doing, maybe we should check it. Like, I don't recall ever checking the stuff back when I was on the board before. You know what I mean? And maybe we can do it like once a quarter, once every 6 months or something to see,
Review
how
how
we're
we're
doing.
doing.
Yeah,
How are we doing with this? Are we keeping on track? Are we doing what we're saying that we're doing, proposing to do?
otherwise it kind of turns into empty words.
Yeah.
So,
I appreciate
taking it
that
back.
feedback, because I'll touch base on that part of my report.
Okay. Any other discussion on that?
yeah, I'm good with the long term as well.
Yeah.
Similar comment? We can bullet points
Probably.
potentially.
I mean, ideally, the short-term goals and objectives should marry up to something in the long term, like they shouldn't be going in two different directions.
Yeah, so from the current framework, the 80s reference was in regards to the volume of businesses and density that were in the downtown, because that was a lot of the feedback I've gotten was people remembering how dense
How it
the
was
development
back.
was and activity in the 80s, and trying to recapture that feeling, where the long term, realizing that the needs and demands for housing based on the population increases, putting that in there, even though this board, doesn't have quite as much in regards to initiatives or activity pertaining to housing. That was where the current framework came from. While the proposed framework is mentioned, we had a good amount of engagement at the last meeting, of people just giving, different comments, and that was compiled to propose some tweaks.
Okay, so we're gonna make a motion to.
So you don't
bring
need to
this-
make a motion. Yeah, I can, come back, this can be postponed till the next meeting, and I can come back with updated recommendation if the board so desires.
And so how can we put in here somehow to check that stuff back, however we wanna do it, once a
So
quarter or
if you-
once every 6 months?
If you want to do that, you can. One suggestion that I was going to make as part of the report is that I feel as though each of the committees, it's important that we establish the goals and priorities and have what our typical itinerary is for like how often we meet. And some of these items may be better assessed like at committee level too.
Okay.
Because this is more of an
And then just bring
overarching.
it back to the board as committees?
Exactly, because committee chairs ideally, can report out on what had happened, so you're not only getting feedback from staff too. So that helps in determining whether or not staff is doing, what the board wants.
So since I started this with my crazy idea, how about I meet with you and we kind of come up with some ideas and put some
Sounds good.
frameworks together and.
I would greatly appreciate that.
Yeah, that's it. It's a redemption, clock coming out right now. I'm just trying to get myself over the fact that I was the last guy to turn in the survey. It wouldn't have if Doug hadn't ambushed me and made me give it to him before the meeting started. Yeah. I was like, what's going on?
No comment.
So any more discussion on that, the new business and the mission statement? We're pretty much set on that. What do you want to do?
All right. Sounds good.
Moving on to the director's report.
So absolutely, handful of things as mentioned, wanting to better align with each committee's establishing priorities that help us make better utilization of our budget and that as well. And, continuing to update the development plan, as previously that was not being updated on a regular basis, but bringing that back to the board on an annual basis so we can see where there's shortfalls or how to, better potentially, implement items. Like one item, that was previously discussed at earlier meeting was about the sound system, which I could go on because it's more than that, but those types of things, can be, brought up for implementation and efficacy, especially as there's transitions. Few other things in the report. We had approximately 45 volunteers last month. That, I don't know if y'all realize that, but there was a lot of people that really supported DDA initiatives and activities, just a tremendous amount, that really went into that. The Main Street banner proposal that was presented to the board at the last meeting, they had not officially, they did not submit a finalized quote, and I have not gotten a quote. And so I'm not certain if I'm going to get a quote because they quoted us for the wrong materials. So that might be something, whether the board wants to move forward with it or not, we can have those discussions. But I feel as though when we schedule a design committee meeting, that might be a good place to, discuss and assess that. Few things on here that were not brought up at the previous meeting is the train depot renovations. A lot of that work was complete. I have not been able to find documentation showing that survey was done to suggest like how the property should be utilized. So I do think that there's some more work that needs to be done potentially by the Economic Vitality Committee. Just an additional note, currently I have 2 committee members on that committee, and I know that we do have a board member that is not been appointed to committee yet. But the downtown mailbox consideration that is also on here, that I have additional information that can help support that. Just that we'll have to work to schedule a committee meeting and, go over some of the items to figure out, potential next steps.
Well, let's get that meeting going soon.
Perfect. I'm happy to schedule. We have one member that's not here that we'll have to work with, but
I'm pretty sure he
otherwise,
wants to have a mailbox as well.
we will get that on the agenda.
All
I'll
right.
send out some emails, or if there's certain dates that you'd like to let me know about, I'm more than happy to work with you to make that happen.
And if I could, we did discuss the facade
Yes.
as a committee. One of the concerns that I had about that is the workload up front for a new business in the approval process is there's a long delay and it's a pre-approval only as it stands right now. Which kind of goes to explain why hardly anybody's used it, because you gotta go through this effort to do this up ahead of time, and then you've gotta like follow the plan. You can't make any changes or anything like that. And I can tell you, as someone who just completed a reno here, I was making decisions every day on the fly. So it would be, to me, a much more likely solution to get more people to use that is if we did this as turn it in after the fact And it gets evaluated by the committee to decide how close you were to the standards, to see if you met these steps to be approved or not. Or maybe you were only partial or something like that. There's no wording in it right now that would allow that to happen. So it has to be a pre-approval, get done, go through the committees, and then get there. So it's like a 6 months or a year-long process. And like, I didn't even, for my rental, for example, it went from, well, I signed a contract in December and we opened in April.
Yeah.
That was not gonna fit at all. So we didn't even bother with it because it just didn't match the reality. So I just wanted, I know you had discussed this, I just wanted to let the group know that this is something that we discussed there. We probably need to change that to make it more flexible. And then as we can look at this, it's only been used once in the last 5 years, so it probably needs to be changed.
So I have a question, is that just for businesses or business and residents?
So there's open discussion on possibilities. I believe right now they're looking primarily businesses, but it's, to be determined. Because, this is related to like the facade, grants.
Yeah.
That the thought is that we'd still have sign and other aspects. But, ideally with that there's a couple nuances, but it's, it's still open to exploration. That,
Okay.
we'll discuss it more at the next meeting.
We just had one, resident use the facade grant, right? And that was a few years ago.
So we've had
There
a
was that
resident.
house that was up on Main Street on the lot, on the right-hand side.
So we've had a resident use this before, and we've had a business use it recently too.
Well, recently, you mean in the last 2-3 years?
There may be a couple board members that have utilized this grant.
Okay.
As well as other individuals.
Yeah.
Well, and I was just curious, because I could use my feedback as like a resident.
Yeah.
Versus whatever, if you want that to help, like, figure that out versus business versus resident, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
how we're gonna move forward with that.
Yeah.
So I could always help with that
Sure.
too,
Yeah.
if needed, so.
Perfect. Other than that, I'll have the scorecards drafted for the next meeting for review. If you guys have any questions about this component?
I have a question.
Oh, sure.
Back to the depot, there was nothing, you didn't find anything with Williams and Works?
So my understanding was that there was a presentation to the village council, about the idea. And that's where, the museum aspect was discussed, but there wasn't actually like a public charrettes.
Okay.
That the DDA meetings worked out on, the restoration. They came up with the agreement with the village to bear that cost and, did a lot of the work to, make that feasible. But I'm not finding any documentation that shows public feedback from a survey
Okay.
or anything of that nature. That it sounds like it was just a meeting here. And so my recommendation would be is if we're looking to open that up or explore options, that we may want to seek public feedback and what the best use is, instead of just, posing it as a museum.
Right.
I don't know if that's the best use. I don't know if the public wants to see it that way. SHPO, being that that's a historic building, there's going to be limits on the redevelopment, but that does not mean that there's that many limits on use. The biggest restriction there is logistics in proximity to EMS and maintaining safe harmonies.
I just wondered if, didn't know if I dropped that.
No, there was definitely, meetings and there's been a lot of feedback, but I'm not able
You're
to
not
find,
finding the exact.
and I can certainly reach out to Williams and Works too, to,
No,
see
I
if
don't
they
think that's
did a
necessary.
survey. I don't know.
Just talking with Dwayne. Because I was trying to.
No, I received feedback from him that there was, that they knew that there was public feedback and that was going to the depot, but I had not found any.
That's okay. I was just curious. All right, informational items, the first quarter financial report.
So this is drafted to kind of show you like where we are, because, the finances, can be challenging. Board approves items and in regards to how those expenditures occur versus the revenue. So our treasurer has drafted this, with the intent, to hopefully help clarify that. If this is useful or if this is not, certainly, let us know so we can, let her know accordingly too.
So what is that revenue then?
So the revenue that is in here, this is solely revenue that has been received from either interest or from non-tax revenue. Because this is not including, tax dollars coming in, as, we are not receiving taxes yet for this fiscal year. So yes, that's why if you look at like our budget, it is such a small percentage. And when you get one of these reports later, the number will jump up.
Yeah.
Significantly.
But it is good to be able to see where we're at compared to where we are in years past.
Yes, because over 90% of our budget is tax revenue as of right now.
Any more questions or discussion on
The budget, I did talk to Gormar digitally, because my question pre-meeting about where our expenditures were because of the bills is I said, I don't really know where we are with this because I don't know how much spending we've done per what our expectations are per, any unforeseen expenditures, because otherwise it doesn't give me a lot of cushion to be able to and say there as the vice president, I guess one of my roles is to review the bills and say, yeah, it looks good. I don't know. So I did ask her about that. She says that right now, based on estimate, we're doing good looking down the road. But it is, it's a little bit challenging year, and that's why we have to ask kind of questions like this, because otherwise you look at that and say, oh, we're 43K in the red. That's a problem, This would, if I didn't know the circumstances that this is normal, that we haven't received the taxes yet, and we're still on a good glide path to, have a successful year and not be in financial trouble, and I wouldn't have been able to say, yes, go ahead and approve these.
So I can try to help clarify that. So salary and wages are approved as part of the annual budget where those costs are fixed, so they're not able to be exceeded.
Right.
So the financial policies allows for the director to potentially make purchases of under $500 without going to the board. So those items are ones that, you could look at, different scrutiny. However, any other item first goes to the board, for approval. And, in the memos, you'll typically see how much, funds are remaining, for that expense. So if there's concern about whether or not the finances or the bills should be approved, it's more likely gonna be, is the bill match what they quoted us?
Right.
Not, an exceeding of, like the revenue and expense report that you see towards the back of yours. That's a more, indicative of what our, finances are, what we intend to receive. But yes, it only has expenses that have been incurred,
Yep.
not expenses that are obligated.
Expected and planned and obligated. Yep.
the next would be the village manager's report for your reading pleasure. I'd like to read through that. The revenue versus expenses report, as of the end of May 5/26. Is there any questions or conversation on that?
I just think we have way too many categories. You could have one for HR and collapse about 7 of those in there, because if we already approved it, so it's not like we're not gonna spend it, so I don't really know why.
Yeah, but you still need to have them out so you can see what the categories are.
So we will have the budget coming where this information could be revised. The positive for more line items is it gives more details in regards to what's spent how. The negative is kind of what you mentioned, where if you do fewer line items, it allows more for more flexibility of funds being allocated. But that also being that this budget has to be approved by the village council, it may not give them enough transparency as to where they may be reluctant to approve of the budget. So there's pros and cons to each.
We want it to be seen, there's nothing to be hidden.
You can show it though without necessarily having it.
Well, and it'll be, the budget will be coming here very soon, so we can, yeah.
Just my thoughts.
Okay, the bank the bank report. So any questions on that? That's pretty cut and dry because there's not much to it. And then, yeah, all of this Michigan class stuff should have went over. Public comments. Right? Nope. Okay, DDA board comments. Start with Mrs. Hayden. Jim? Jim?
No, ma'am.
Okay, Jim.
Hi, I'm just another happy DDA board member. I think I talked a lot today, so I think I'm good.
Looking forward to our first music series event on the 4th. See how Thursday works out for us. Hopefully it's a very positive move. Other than that, I got nothing.
Well, I would like to thank everybody who helped with the bike rodeo. I think that was well received. And then we had, for the first year being back, we had, I think it was a great attendance as well as the bikes and, everybody's efforts and putting into it. And thank you for what you've done for us, Caitlin. But everybody's help, everybody was there. I appreciate that. And everybody, thanks for everything you do and all of we're getting off to a great start with our events and things. We just need to keep rotating and help this gal over here out as much as we can and be supportive as much as we can. So that's all I have, but I appreciate each and every one of you.
Sure.
And everything
Just
that everybody
another board
does.
member.
Just another board member. So, if there's nothing else to be said by anyone, make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Support.
Discussion. Voice vote, is everybody agreed to this?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same, all right.
Heritage Day is a lot of work and communication going towards that.